If the weather's getting warmer where you are, then can you actually get your dog used to the heat to prevent heat stroke? And can you actually exercise them then when it might be warmer than you imagine? And so let's jump into the first question. And this question is from Lilia, who asks, can you get a dog used to the heat so that they build up a tolerance and so can work or perform agility when it's hot outside? So the very short answer is yes, but within reason. So it's not always the actual temperature that results in heat stroke. And as silly as that sounds, the actual temperature of the outside isn't always the main problem. So what heat stroke is a hypothermia, so the body's body temperature rises to dangerous levels, and it is definitely a potentially fatal condition. So where we can also get a danger is a sudden increase in temperature, and that can actually be just as dangerous. And the classic example of this is an unseasonably warm spring day where the temperature is nowhere near as hot as it normally is in the summer, but it's an abnormal temperature for that time of year. So it might have been quite cool, there might have been a cool breeze, the sun might not have been out, but then you get this glorious day where the sun comes out, there's no breeze, and all of a sudden it's a lot hotter than it normally is at that time of year, and then it has been for the preceding days. So the dog just hasn't had a chance to build up a tolerance, and that's actually when we'll often see heat stroke, hypothermia, and also potentially death, like I say. Now, humidity also does play a role, so a sudden increase in humidity as well can mean that the dog's ability to lose heat is also compromised. And that's because when things are humid, you get less evaporation, and so the dog is less able to cool itself by dumping heat through panting, because panting kind of requires the evaporation of the saliva, which takes heat away from the body. Now, if that saliva can't evaporate, then you can't lose heat. So it's just like us, when it's really humid, you get hot and sticky, and that's because the sweat can't evaporate, and so you can't cool down naturally, and dogs are exactly the same. Now, when temperatures do gradually increase, then a dog will naturally become more used to them, and so will be better able to do more when it gets hot. If you are just moving into an area, so if you're traveling for whatever reason to go to an event, then if you're doing that, it's going to take a little bit of time. But if you're maybe moving a couple of weeks beforehand, then you can just slowly, gradually increase the exercise that you're doing, and a dog will gradually be able to do more and more without overheating. Having said all that though, no matter how used to the heat your dog is, when the temperatures really climb, in the middle of summer, if you live somewhere hot in the middle of the day, then you really need to restrict their activity to early morning or to evenings when it's cooler. No matter how well tolerated they are, if things are really hot, then they're just going to really struggle. You also should be aware of the signs of heat stroke in dogs, and also know how to cool your dog down if they do start to overheat. That's really important. And actually in some studies, it's shown that for owners whose dogs were developing heat stroke, if they managed to take steps to cool them down before they presented to the vet for emergency treatment, then their chances of survival were massively increased. Now, I've got all of these details, so the signs of heat stroke, how to cool your dog down, also how to keep them cool in the first place, in my free hot weather ebook, which is over on the Knowledge Vault on the Our Pets Health website.
You've been watching the Dr. Alex Answers video podcast. Remember to subscribe and head over to dralexanswers.com for any links, downloads, and get your question answered.